the Dean Martin Celebrity Roast, coming to you from the MGM Grand Hotel in the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Ladies and gentlemen, from the beautiful Ziegfeld Room, tonight's star-studded roast has brought together some of the world's greatest entertainers. They've come from all over the world to be here tonight, here in Las Vegas in person, joining Dean Martin as he honors tonight's very special man of the hour, Dan Haggerty. With tonight's guests, Denver Pyle, Red Buttons, Jimmy Walker, Marilyn Michaels, Roger Miller, Foster Brooks, Lwanda Paige, Abe Vigoda, William Conrad, Rich Little, Tom Dreesen, Orson Wells, Jackie Gale, and your roastmaster, Dean Martin. With tonight's man of the hour, Dan Haggerty.
I wish I was in better shape for this occasion, but I must have had one too many last night. Around 4 in the morning, I invited Mr. Haggerty's bear to my room. And everything was beautiful until I tried to remove her fur coat. Grizzly, he arrived yesterday, and after driving down from the rugged wilderness, he and his sidekick Denver Pyle in the front seat and Ruth Buzzy tied to the front fender. Grizzly here is a real outdoorsman. As soon as he got here, he drove into town and picked up a couple of sleeping bags. He was at the bar with him till about 2 this morning. I must say, my pal Kirkakorian, or Corkacarian, who owns this hotel, has given Grizzly here first-class treatment. They gave him a beautiful suite with a waterbed in it, and Grizzly loves the waterbed. He got up at 6 this morning, cut a hole in the bed, and went fishing. You folks may not know this, but a few years back, Grizzly and Orson Wells had their beards mated and had a 9-pound mustache. Being a country boy, he isn't too comfortable here. This is the first time he ever sat at a table without flies. He never eats meat. He lives on blackberry juice, huckleberry juice, loganberry juice. He's juiced all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, Rich Little.
Well, what do you say about a guy who eats furniture for breakfast, uses fir trees as toothpicks? But I happen to really like this big dumb jerk here. But a lot of Hollywood heavies don't seem to share that opinion. When I asked Big John Wayne what he thought of Grizzly Adams, Duke replied, "Bull feathers. As a frontiersman, Haggerty's a big sissy. His idea of roughing it on location is to go into the Rockies without his hair dryer." The strong, silent man of many outdoor epics, Jimmy Stewart, said, Grizzly Adams. Well, I happen to like the program as far as it goes. The problem is it It just doesn't go anywhere. Now, Jack Nicholson, who became a biggie as a rugged outdoor type, said, "You know, one look at this dude and you know right off he's a true man of the soil, you know, a real son of the earth. By that I mean he's a dirty old man." And for a final opinion, I turn from the real cowboys to the head honcho on the Midnight Roundup, Johnny Carson. The first time I met Haggerty, he was wearing a buckskin suit, snakeskin suspenders, birch bark sneakers, carrying a goose, and dancing with a bear. He was looking for the Gong Show.
You know, everyone thinks of Dan Haggerty as living alone in a log cabin surrounded by animals. But we've just learned that Dan has had a woman in his life for the past 5 years, a secret fiancée. Ladies and gentlemen, here to tell her intimate story of living in the wilderness with her mountain man, Dan Haggerty's secret fiancée, Miss Glattis Grizzly Ormsby. Better than you.
Oh, you people don't know what it's like living in the wilderness with this groping grizzly. I thought it was true love. The first time I saw him, my chest swelled.
That's the biggest swelling you ever had.
I'll tell you how I first met Crabgrass Face. There was a wolf killing his sheep. He set a trap for the wolf, but he caught me instead.
You're better off with the wolf.
You know, living with him wasn't easy. When I first came to his cabin, the animals built a fire to keep me away. We shared everything at first. Every time he ate, he'd always put a dish down on the floor for me. But I'll say this about our relationship. He gave me something that no man has ever given me before. Fleas! Hold it down. Kissing him is like wiping your mouth on the back of a beaver. And with that beard of his, I had to put a nightlight in my mouth to find his lips. He once nibbled on my ear and I had to take a series of rabies shots. Do I look like a woman who should take that kind of abuse?
You don't even look like a woman.
All right, pull yourself together, Glattis. Don't you remember, it's all over now between Grizzly and me. We split up for 2 reasons, sex and money. I wasn't getting enough of either. So this is for you. This one's for the bear. This one's for the possum. This one's for the beaver. This one's for the raccoon. And the cat. The dog. The cow. The pigs. And the sheep.
Give me that bag! We'll have the decision in about a minute. Oh, reminds me of the Friday night fights. And that concludes our show. Ah, boy, the next guy up has got to have a lot of guts. That multi-talented and all-around genius, Mr. Orson Wells. No, Orson, this way. That way. Well, you've always been lucky.
Shall we pray? In the past, I've been invited to these roasts to pay tribute to ladies and gentlemen who've made significant contributions to the fields of entertainment, people who've moved our hearts with stirring songs, their magnificent acting, or their rib-tickling comedy. And who, let me go further, whom are we honoring tonight? Dan Haggerty is whom? A man whose chief claim to fame is that Marlon Perkins taught him to eat with a knife and fork. The bear already knew how. It says here he was born in Hollywood and then moved to Cucamonga. You can see what a mental giant we're dealing with. Given the choice, who moves to Cucamonga?
After all, Cucamonga itself is an old Indian word that means, let's get the hell out of Cucamonga. It says here, Dan is always rescuing sick little creatures who desperately need his help. Now, I know this to be a fact. Why, this weekend alone, he found a warm blanket and a clean cage for Jimmy Walker. And here, the Haggerty biography builds to its thundering climax. Dan marries his high school sweetheart, has 2 children, becomes interested in bodybuilding, is a devout environmentalist, and climbs mountains. Because they are there. At least Dan climbs mountains that are there. Bean climbs mountains that aren't there. I was particularly intrigued by your success because I believe you've never had formal dramatic training. You've never even studied with the Actors Studio. Then I learned your secret. Lucky for you, the bear is a ventriloquist.
The magnificent Mr. Orson Wells. I give you red buttons.
Here's a man lives with a bear, and they give him a dinner. Samson lived with Delilah, got a haircut. I lived with my first wife 11 years, I got a summons. I am not knocking bears. Bears are good people. Do you realize that since they put those Smokey the Bear ads in the subways, there hasn't been one forest fire in New York City? Why are we giving this man a dinner? Why are we giving this man a dinner when some of the greatest people in the history of the world never got a dinner? Billy Carter, who said to his brother Jimmy, "Can you get me on the Gong Show?" Never got a dinner. Henry Ford, who with all his money never owned a Cadillac. Never got a dinner. This man, they give a dinner. Ponce de Leon, who said when he found the fountain of youth, "Where the hell are the paper cups?" Peter Minuit, Pizza Minuit, who said to the Indians when he bought Manhattan, "Will you take a check on a Puerto Rican bank?" Never got a dinner. He never got a dinner. King Arthur. I don't want to tell you his first name. You're not going to believe it. Melvin. Melvin Arthur. That was his full name. King Melvin Arthur, who said to Queen Guinevere, "Since you bought the round table, all we get is pizza. Livingston, who said when Stanley found him, you didn't have to search, I'm in the book. Hyman Bluebeard, who said to Scotland Yard, "How do I know how many women I've killed? I'm a murderer, not an accountant." Moses.
First name?
Charlton. Moses, who said to the children of Israel at the Red Sea, "Take your galoshes, I never did this trick before." They never got a dinner
Our next guest is becoming somewhat of a regular on our roast. The comedy star of Good Times, Jimmy Walker.
Dan lives in the woods in a small shack with 20 animals. Dan doesn't mind living with all those animals, but it gets really rough when their parents come to visit. Through his television show, Dan's become quite popular. Now when he goes to the zoo, animals take pictures of him. I like the idea that in your show you're now using a black bear. Right on, brother. What I want to know is, how come he's always walking 5 feet behind you?
We have with us tonight a real salty character who on the Grizzly show plays the part of his old buddy, Mad Jack. I'm just going to say Mr. Denver Pyle, because I know him 100 years.
Denver! Well, Dean, don't make fun of the beard. This beard is what makes me look so rough and tough and mean. After all, if you shaved it off underneath, you'd find maybe Roddy McDowell. Grizzly, I sure am flattered to have been asked to speak here tonight on your behalf. But as Colonel Sanders once said to his favorite chicken, I got a bone to pick with you. I'm what is known in show business as a sidekick. Now, a sidekick, I heard that. Dean just said, why don't we all get up there and kick him in the side? And it goes without saying, there's no chance in the world that the sidekick ever gets the girl. On our show, I don't even get the bear.
Of course, as the star of Grizzly Adams, the producers had to see to it that nothing happened to him. So they hired our next guest, one of the most fearless stuntmen in Hollywood.
Thank you, Dean. First of all, let me say hello to the star of Grizzly Adams, a man known to millions, the great Dan Haggerty. And this is my hello to Dan Haggerty. Grizzly fled to the woods because he was accused of a crime he didn't commit. But I swear, this man has committed no crime at all, unless you count his acting. Haggerty is so square, so clean living, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink, and according to his wife, that's not all he doesn't do. Dan Haggerty's a coward, too. He's so yellow, his wife uses him on the porch as an insect light. Dan Haggerty's a phony. Dan Haggerty's afraid of blood. Every time he looks into Dean's eyes, he faints. Sharknado. into the air. It fell to earth, I know not where. Charlie Kelly. With us tonight is that terrific fellow who plays the old tired cop on Barney Miller and on his own show, Fish. I'll tell you how old and tired a detective Fish really is. By the time he gets to the scene of the crime, the criminal has already been captured by Beretta. Ladies and gentlemen, the funniest of New York's finest, Mr. Abe Vigoda.
It's an honor to be here to say a kind word or two about Grizzly, which is a hell of a name for a grown man. Who am I to complain? My name is Fish. You want to talk about danger, Grizzly? Let's talk about New York, Fun City, or to those of us who really know, Gun City. Just go down on any city street in the month of July or August, which according to the almanac is listed as the car stripping season. Now, I found out that General Motors has trained its assembly line workers so that they can finally put a car together in only 17 hours. In New York, we once arrested a guy named Mario who can take it apart in 17 minutes. He could have done it in 9 minutes, except his right hand is a hook. Believe me, Grizzly, if that bear of yours went walking down 2nd Avenue, in 5 minutes, some hoodlums would have the fur coat off his back, and a girl named Sylvia would be wearing it to a singles thing. Thank you, and good night.
As opposed to Grizzly Adams' lifestyle in the wilderness, our next guest is here to defend the benefits and virtues of city living. Ladies and gentlemen, a new and brilliant funny comedian, Mr. Tom Gleason.
Thank you. We're here tonight to talk about a man who looks like he's eating a tumbleweed. And a lot of people say that living in the country is better for you. I'm against that. I live in the city. I've always lived in the city. And they'll tell you that people that look like Dan Haggerty are an example of what country people look like. That's not so. There are many people in my neighborhood, many men who look just like Dan Haggerty. We call them winos. To me, it was like growing up anywhere else in America. You get up in the morning, you open up the window, you listen to the sounds of little children talking to one another. I'm gonna break your face. And that's a little girl's jumping rope, which is really fun to watch. You ever watch little girls jump rope? Little white girls jump rope with one rope. Down in the valley where the green grass grows. To me, it's far more exciting watching black girls jump rope. They jump rope with 5 ropes, all going at the same time. You know I'm alive, I'm jumping with 5, get a bald head of mama, that ain't no jive. The number 1 rivalry in my neighborhood was between an all-black Catholic school called St. Leroy's. St. Leroy's. Their arch rival was an all-white Catholic school. It was in an all-black neighborhood called Our Lady of the Courageous Caucasians. And St. Leroy's used to win all the time because they had a good basketball team. But they had a better cheerleading squad. See, the biggest cheer we had in the white community in 1958 was Big Apple, Little Apple, Susie Q. Come on, team, we're rooting for you. Now, that could hardly inspire you. St. Leroy's cheers were much more intimidating. Gawa, so power, you'll all be dead in just an hour. And St. Leroy's had the most interesting mascot I've ever seen in my life. It was a burro that they painted white. The school made them get rid of it. They kept calling it a honky-donkey. Toughest guy in my neighborhood was a black guy, a lot tougher than Dan. Gucci Nicholson. Gucci was tough. Young kids today brag about they know how to use kung fu. Gucci know how to use car tool. See, in city living, you learn a lot from one another. And if you hang around with different nationalities, their culture rubs off on you. You can't find that in the country. It's true, that's what America is all about, an exchange of all these different cultures. Gucci taught me a word black people use that white people don't use. A-H-M-O, amo. I'm gonna kick your butt. That was poor living, tough living, not like Dan has in the country. He's got it made. Poorest family in my neighborhood was the Barducci family. They had 17 kids. 17 kids. You know you got too many kids when you buy a dog and first day you pet it to death. But, Dan, I wish you a lot of success. You've got that bear. It's nice to have animals. My wife and I just got a dog. We didn't buy the dog. We got him from the animal welfare because we figure if you can't have one naturally, you should adopt one. And I was trying to teach a dog tricks. I went to the store, I bought a red rubber ball, and every day for hours I'd throw the ball, then I'd go after it and bring it back in my mouth. I finally taught the dog to say, attaboy, attaboy. Thank you.
The real star of the show, Ben Bear.
Thank you, Dean. You and I are a lot alike. We both do our traveling on all fours. Look at this dais. Lwanda Paige, Jimmy Walker, Ruth Buzzy, Charlie Callis. I'm the best-looking one up here. Foster Brooks is only sitting there to make Dean look sober. First time I saw this yo-yo, I was with some black bears. As soon as they spotted him, they said, well, there goes the neighborhood.
Our next guest is a very talented old Lwanda Paige. Now, this young lady, you've seen her on Sanford and Son. I adore her. I always have her on the dais or the dais. Miss Lwanda Paige.
Watch it, sucker. And don't make any cracks about my looks. Honey, I can get any man I please.
So far you haven't pleased any man.
Hold it right there, hunky. Or you gonna wind up in the hospital. I'll have Sammy Davis Jr. come by and drop his jewelry on you. Where'd you get that outfit, Grizzly?
I got it from Dean.
You look like you mugged a buffalo. Now, just because you became a star overnight and you didn't have to do it the hard way without being black, you think you Mr. Big. Just because you live with an animal that sleeps 6 months a year. Big deal. I had a husband like that. But I tell you something, Grizzly, you got it made. Living in a cave with a bear. Honey, ain't no landlord alive gonna raise the rent on a bear. And I heard what you said, William Conrad. Don't you shoot off your mouth, Mr. Cannon. You know I could work you over pretty damn good. But I don't want to get under your skin. There's hardly enough room under there for you. And Abe Vigoda, I know what he's thinking, but I don't pay him no mind. He looks like he died and nobody told him. I heard you too, Ruth Buzzy. I don't want no jive about my figure, honey, because I seen what you look like in a bathing suit. And man, that's what you look like. I can't figure out where you coming from, Grizzly. You got the crazy idea that living in a forest with real animals makes you brave. If you really want to live dangerously, honey, just come on down to my neighborhood, Beverly Watts. You can get mugged over the telephone. And you, Foster Brooks. Yes, you. Stop breathing in my direction. You're putting the kinks back in my hair.
To get our next guest, we had to contact Washington, D.C. and get him some time off. He's a friend of Dan Haggerty's, a forest ranger, right? Ladies and gentlemen, representing the Forest Rangers of America, Mr. Marlon Hurd.
I am happy to represent the National Park Service in honor of old Grizzly. He's come a long way. His picture is on the cover of Field and Stream this month. He's the one with the fish in his mouth. But the experienced woodsman you see here tonight is not the same tenderfoot he was when I first met him. In fact, it's hard to believe this is the same kid who once went down the road to watch animals at a deer crossing and got hit by a busload of elks. Now, I could see this young man needed help, so I took him under my wing. I showed him how to make a fire by rubbing two sticks together. And he gave it 4 or 5 tries, but no fire. Which was quite surprising because the 2 sticks I gave him were matches. He is a true friend of nature. One day an owl. One day, an owl flew into our camp with a broken wing. Well, Grizzly mended the wing and nursed that bird back to health. But he put the wing on the wrong side. But now the darn thing flies backwards.
That was Foster Brooks. Everybody knows Foster Brooks. Dynamic Marilyn Michael.
Thank you, Dean. Oh, wow, you know, I just realized something. I mean, you and Dan. Now, you look differently, and you talk differently, you know, but you both have a lot in common. You're both interested in wildlife. Now, I know that tonight, everybody here is going to praise Grizzly for being a warm-hearted, wholesome man who appeals to the family and appeals to the kids. But I think that there are a lot of gals out here, especially gals in show business, who think this handsome hunk of hair is definitely a sex symbol. Is that right, girls? What do you think, huh? Right. I mean, just the other day, Mae West was saying, "Oh, Grizzly, that man is fascinating, and he's so virile. And he's wonderful. You can crawl over my frontier anytime you like, honey." But I'll tell you that. Then Jaja said, "But darling, it's not Grizzly I'm crazy about so much, darling. It's the bear. I never had one before." You know, Dinah Shore, I mean, because she's my favorite, she just flips her mint juleps over you. I'll tell you, Grizzly, you are so wonderful and so fine. I love a man who wears a double knit buckskin. I really do. East is east and west is west and the wrong way.
Anytime I can get him, Mr. Jackie Gabe.
Now, what kind of man is Dan Haggerty? Dan's ancestors came west in covered wagons. If you saw his ancestors, you know why the wagons were covered. He was a little disappointed today when he found out he couldn't put buffalo chips in a slot machine. What's Jimmy Walker doing here tonight? How does he relate to grizzly bears? The only time he ever saw a babbling brook is when he worked in a car wash. Jimmy, don't waste your time looking for your roots. Look for your body. Roger Miller lives in a mansion, drives around a $100,000 car, and sings songs about being poor. I'll tell you something. Denver got here a little late. The president said he could fly in from the Ozarks on Air Force One, but Denver couldn't remember the number of the plane. You know what's smarter than Denver on the show? The mule. The mule on Grizzly Adams is the smartest mule you ever saw. But Denver's jealous of the mule. Every day he tells him nobody likes a smart ass. Oh, remember William Conrad? He played Cannon, the private detective. I watched you fall down a lot of times on that show. You could rock yourself to sleep just trying to get up. You never should have given up being a jockey. The only thing bigger than his stomach is the Lwanda Paige's mouth. Let's see who got left out tonight. It figures Ruth Buzzy. She's only here tonight to date the bear. Dean's having a lot of fun. He left a wake-up call for the end of the show. Mr. Martin is a man of faith. He believes there's another world, and he's always in it.
Fine actor, a good man, our guest of honor, Mr. Dan Haggerty.
Thank you, Dean. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like you to look at this dais. I've seen better heads on the wall than hunting lines. But I've been asking Dean to come up and spend some time with me up in my cabin, and I just told him how nice it is up there every evening. You just lay on your back and look up at the stars, and All of a sudden, I realized that Dean's been doing that all his life. And red buttons. Well, talking about the man of the hour. If we were to talk about a comedian that's given 25 years of his life to comics, your name would be right up there with the tops. Sonny Bono, Burt Parks, all Ruth Buzzy. I love you, baby. I want you to come up to the cabin and visit me one more time. But please, this time, fix yourself up a little bit. Last time you came looking like that, you started a chicken stampede. Being a good backwoodsman, I've always been afraid of coming face to face with Bigfoot, incredible monster that walks around the mountains. But this evening, I was lucky enough to meet Big Mouth, Lwanda Paige. And my friend William Conrad, who did a TV show, Cannon. He hasn't lost a pound. He still looks like a dump truck. In fact, he was out front today by the curb and a cop put a check mark on his leg. And I'm glad to see Fish here. He's been trying so long to become a star, and he finally became one, but he's so old now he can't appreciate it. And you all know my buddy, sidekick, my good friend for a long, long time. But unfortunately, number 7 couldn't come tonight. But we had to be stuck with Denver Pyle. And I love him dearly. But once you've seen one ass, you've seen them all. And to tell the rest of the dais, well, not too long ago, I was wandering through the woods and I got my leg caught in a bear trap. And I was laying there in pain, alone and rejected. And as I look back on it now, I had more fun than I have with you this evening. This is really an honor and a privilege to me and my family. And Dean, I really appreciate you having me here. And thank you, everybody, for being so kind and watching the show. It's terrific, and I love you, and thank you very, very much.